During the last 2 weeks, we learned about Marxism as a way to work on credits like system thinking and analysis and interpretation. We read a large portion of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and analyzed how parts of it fell into our greater modern society. We learned how to do Marxist criticism and work on pieces and looked at pieces like Hell or High Water, and we each chose individual pieces that we would analyze as well. Marxism itself is the idea that the proletariat, which is the lower class or middle class people, will eventually overthrow and create an equal society where there are no overlords and the bourgeoisie, which is the rich, the people who control the world politics and force it to no longer be a equal society. As part of the class, I wrote a Marxist criticism on the Disney movie Wall-E, talking about how it is a criticism of capitalist societies and the eventual self-destruction that Marx predicts in the Communist Manifesto. My idea is that Wall-E is ideologically conflicted because it both shows the success of his individualism, but it also shows how later in the movie it shows the cons and the destruction that the capitalism on the ship that the humans are on has caused, and how being under the control of one governing body, which is the AI, is eventually caused them to be complacent and no longer be able to take control of their own lives and no longer be able to actually work as a group. The HAL, or the ship AI, is in control of the humans, and he is representative of the bourgeoisie, creating conflicts within the proletariat to keep them under his control. He continually attempts to stop the ship from returning to Earth, knowing that once the humans leave the ship, he will no longer have control over their actions and over their capabilities. Even when the ship's captain actually attempts to stand up for the first time in who knows how long, he is forcefully made to sit back down into the transport pods by the ship's AI, because him even just standing up is a sign of autonomy that the ship cannot allow. The idea is also that Wall-E creates class consciousness on the ship. Class consciousness is, in Marxism, when the proletariat realize that they have enough power within themselves to overthrow the bourgeoisie and regain control over their own futures and their own lives. Wall-E coming onto the ship is an unknown variable for the ship's AI. He ends up creating the situations. While he himself is a rugged individualist, he creates the situations that allow for Mo, the cleaning robot, to eventually knock the actual ship, the human ship captain, out of his chair, and then creating a system of events that causes the overthrow of HAL. I'm going to be using this piece as a systems thinking, analysis and interpretation, and constructing viable arguments evidence, which are systems thinking is where we need to show that we can explain and understand complex systems of society and mechanical ideas. Analysis and interpretation is exactly what it sounds like. We need to show that we can analyze and in turn interpret what our certain parts of ideas, ideologies, and works that we can research, like Wall-E. Constructing viable arguments is being able to create and then sustain a argument that has evidence and is built up to be viable. The other evidence that I've gathered in this class is a video of James and I explaining the basic statistics of U.S. wealth distribution and taxes. I would be using that for both systems thinking and a little bit into analysis and interpretation. I plan to apply for, later in the year, I plan to apply for systems thinking, written communication, and spoken and visual communication, which both the Wall-E analysis and the presentation by James and I fall into, and hopefully achieving those credits this August.